Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences, and their expertise. And we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello, dear viewer, dear listener. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Let me welcome you once again to a great and wonderful episode, another one. Episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. It's always a privilege and an honor to introduce you to a new entrepreneur each and every time. Before we get into a conversation, my guest is TSHEPO Lesole. Before we get into the nitty-gritties with him, I'm actually not asking, I'm pleading with you to please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button right away. And let me apologize a little bit for the way I'm dressed. I was earlier on in a courtroom, and this is how us lawyers have to dress in courtrooms. I hope it doesn't distract you as a viewer. And thank you, Mr. TSHEPO Lesole, for coming to the studio.
Thank you, sir.
Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself to the viewers, sir?
Yes, sir. Well, my name is TSHEPO Lesole. I was born and raised in Nkany, born in a family of 4 siblings. I'm the last born with 2 brothers and 1 sister. I am married to 1 woman. I have 2 kids, both girls, a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. I am into music and music production and multimedia as well. So in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I usually ask my guests to share a little bit of the academic side, the vocational side.
Okay. I have studied business administration. I'm currently also still studying for creative multimedia, a bachelor's degree in creative multimedia. Yes.
Through which university?
At the Limpopo University.
Okay.
And most of what I do is self-taught. I mean, I'm just now enhancing what I've over the years been self-teaching myself.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What would you say are the highlights of your career so far?
Well, I have a couple of highlights, but a few that I will mention is probably managing to share the stage with most of my, I would say my mentors, the likes of Benjamin Dube, the likes of Joya Celebration, and also over the years managing to collect some awards. I have a total of about 9 awards now. And also being recognized internationally. I've been nominated in international awards by the name Crown Gospel Awards, which are annually held in Durban, South Africa. Yes, sir.
I realize that your main genre is gospel.
Yes.
Why did you choose gospel?
Well, I wouldn't say I chose gospel. I was born and raised in a Christian family. My family, my parents are pastors, were pastors. They are retired now. So having been raised in an environment like that, eventually I ended up making a decision to choose this lifestyle of Christianity. So me doing gospel music is just, what can I say? It's just a portion of the lifestyle that I chose, which is Christianity. Yes, sir.
Okay. Some children of pastors tend to rebel.
Yes.
So I'm curious what drew you specifically to the gospel and to gospel music.
Yes. Well, I think it's a choice that I made to I wouldn't say it's a choice that I made. It's like I'm saying, it's me doing gospel music forms a portion, just a small portion of the lifestyle of Christianity that I chose. I know sometimes if you grew up as a pastor's kid, all eyes are on you. People want to expect you to be like a shadow of your father. They expect you to live exactly the way your father has led. But I've been honored because the parents that I have really done a good job in raising us as their children. And right now, I'm just a living proof that they have raised us well. So me choosing to be a gospel artist is like a portion of the Christian lifestyle that
Your
I have.
dad in particular was something of a celebrity in the
Yes.
Christian realm.
Yes.
Talk to us about him and how he influenced your life.
He has done a good job. I think, not only to me, he has raised so many people right now that are now in the area of ministry, gospel ministry. Some are pastors, some are married, some have grown into being influential people in their own right. He has done a good job. I mean, growing up, like you're saying, he was the celebrity in the past.
Perhaps for those who don't know, tell us a bit more about him personally.
Yes, his name is Rev Nkany. Back in the day, when even before I went into radio and having my music being played on radio and TV, he was preaching on radio and RB1. He would, at the beginning of the television station as well, BTV, he used to come preach before he got old. That's why I'm saying he was the celebrity first before we even started this thing. So he got known, and his messages were, well known as well. And I remember he used to theme his messages more comedy as well. He used to give very, very funny titles to his messages. So it went, back then it went viral even before we went into the social media world, yes.
Can you give an example of that?
The messages, he used to preach messages like messages like
which means where is your home?
Where is your home? Messages like I'm failing to remember some of the messages he used to preach, but like I'm saying, he would give very funny titles to his message. Yeah.
Okay, all right. We'll come back to music
Yes,
because that's really where we're going to park for a little bit in this conversation.
Yes.
But let's talk a little bit about multimedia.
Yes.
How did you gravitate towards multimedia, and what's the definition of multimedia in your case?
Yes. Multimedia is actually, something that I grew up loving. I grew up loving how, I would look at TVCs, I would look at the movies, and I would want to know how things are done, which ended up sparking an interest in me of coming up with a company which is called High Note Productions, which deals mainly with production and music, production for radio jingles, for TVCs as well.
What are TVCs?
TVCs are television commercials, and a number of things that are in that area as well. So it was just a boy in me. I wanted to become a part of the creative process of things. I would listen to a song, and when people are listening to the fun side of the song or the musical side of the song, I am busy concentrating on the creative side of things. I want to be to know how things were put together to come up with this final product. As a boy, you look at an iron and a kettle, and you want to know how electricity would convert that iron into heat, and then that heat will boil the water and stuff like that. So
and sometimes you end up dismantling everything.
You end up dismantling just to know how things are done. So that was me when growing up, listening to music and other things. Yeah.
Talk about radio jingles for corporates,
sir.
Which is something that you do.
Yes, sir.
What does that entail?
A radio jingle is actually, we would say, a billboard, an audio billboard that sells a product for a certain company or for a certain organization. So what it entails is, say maybe as Mogobe, Niger, you want to pass a message, you can use that medium to spread the message out there, regarding whatever product that you are selling at that moment. That's what it entails. Yes, sir.
And it comes in the form of a musical tune, or how does it?
Well, it can come in different forms. Mostly the common way of doing it is having the voiceover and then having a bed or a carpet of music back there. Sometimes it can be even based in music, really, where there's probably an animation on top of a music bed that sells a product, yes.
All right. How did you acquire the skills, or shall I say how you taught yourself to become good at this?
Well, mostly, like I'm saying, I grew up being inquisitive, wanting to know how things are done. So I ended up, most of what I do is self-taught. It's only now and over the years when I started wanting to acquire the professional knowledge of it. It was mainly born out of the fact that I had the desire to want to.
So is the process complex? Is it involved?
I would say it's complex, but it gets fun when you have the passion, and also when you have the God-given talent. I would say I'm blessed to be gifted in that area, because sometimes the hard part of things actually gives me even more desire to wanna learn and get to know how it's done. The harder it gets, the more interesting it is to me. Yes.
And also you differentiate yourself from others because your skill level goes up.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
All right. Now, television commercials. What drew you to television, and take us through your first television commercial? How did you go about landing that job and executing it?
Well, it's fun. It gets fun. I'll talk about the last I've done. Even though I was doing the music side of things, I've done one for KFC Botswana, which was designed by other producers. I was just on the music side of things. It was fun because the script was mainly to come up with a jingle, an advert that will reflect Botswana, a Botswana image. So the script was designed around the area of having those women wearing the what do you call these things? These traditional shawls, these blue and white traditional shawls with their ditukwi, and having these traditional brooms, singing in front of the yard with kids gathering together, mainly to show that KFC is enjoyed by the whole family, with kids here, with mothers here, with parents here, over a song of a traditional song and stuff like that. So it came up very nice. It's one of the jingles adverts that I was honored.
So you had to compose a song for that specific project?
Yes. I composed music for the, I believe we'll find it and have it playing under, or maybe after this, yeah.
I'm always curious about the background. What does it take to get those skills? What did you have to do to acquire that knowledge?
Well, like I'm saying, it's mainly God. Sometimes I shock myself sometimes as well when I have to play back or maybe look at the job that we have done. It's mainly and purely the gift that I've gotten from God. Well, of course, that is empowered and enhanced by the skill that I self-teach myself as I go, and also the experience of working with other associates and stuff and learning from each other on the way, yes.
On this area of multimedia, we've had here in this country a couple of years ago, celebrities like Steve Harvey coming here and, making some promises here and there, and certainly engaging with people in your industry.
Yes.
What has come out of these engagements?
Well, we're still to see because some of them haven't took off yet. But personally, I think it will be a great deal especially to us here, the multimedia industry in Botswana and the arts industry in general. Because when we talk of Steve Harvey, we are talking of Hollywood.
An institution, yes.
An institution, really. So having somebody like that to come and set up here and to learn from and to actually do work with, I believe it's a great deal, a great step in the right direction for me.
You didn't make a move to try and interact with him?
I haven't yet, but I'm drawing myself closer to whoever will.
Okay.
I'll hang on to the jackets of whoever will go closer to that.
Okay, I want us to go back to music, which is where I think you are happiest.
Yes, that's where I'm happiest, yes.
To talk about the growth of the music scene in Botswana, can you have a general comment about that?
Well, the music scene here in Botswana is actually interestingly growing. I mean, if I'm to look back to 5 or 10 years back, I would say we are somewhere. We are going somewhere. The grass is greener, and the light, we can see more light from where we are now. Because I see international artists setting up here in Botswana, collaborations, local artists are collaborating with internationals. It's getting easier. And,
in terms of airplay on radio?
Well, in terms of airplay and as well in terms of networking. Botswana is now not just a country far down south of Africa. It's now becoming a country that is recognized musically in other countries, yes.
And how, in terms of quality, do we compare with foreign music in general?
Well, we are there. I would say we are there. I mean, if I'm to give examples with artists like who, like V, for example, whom we mostly here look up to in terms of business. He's one of the billboards of our music here in Botswana. When we talk of local music, he's one of those people that we think of immediately, and internationally recognized as well, with different bodies and awarding bodies having recognized him in international platforms. So we are going somewhere, and I believe with more of seriousness on our part as musicians in terms of packaging ourselves and delivering ourselves to the consumers. I believe in 5-10 more years we will be somewhere.
The establishment of an organization like COSBOT, which seeks to monetize the talent and actually pay out to musicians, how has it been? What impact, if any, has it had?
Well, there are hiccups here and there. There could have been hiccups here and there, but personally, it's an entity. It's a body that we have always been looking forward to having here in Botswana, and I would say they are growing. Each organization comes and it has hiccups on the way. It grows, it gets up and keeps moving forward. And I believe there's a lot that is being done now to make things right and to get the boat running well. It has really helped because over the years, Botswana content has just been consumed without royalties being regulated and collected and given to the rightful owners, who are the musicians. And right now, what COSBOT is doing is very commendable. Reaching out to the people as well and making themselves visible to us content creators. I believe there's a good job that is being done. There's a lot that can be improved, but there's a lot that has been done that is good by the organization.
I've heard some business people complain, actually restaurant owners, saying that sometimes they're playing only on TV. For instance, people are watching football and things like that, and they're playing foreign music, and yet they are expected to pay to COSBOTs. And I've actually been part of this conversation that it seems unfair and arbitrary. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are they should really pay licenses to COSBOTs for using music, because content,
even if it's foreign music,
because COSBOTs as well is collecting for foreigners here. It's not only collecting for us locals. So wherever there is use of
when
music,
you are paying DSTV,
yep,
and you are paying for this particular music that you bought, and some of it is on radio, and yet as a restaurant owner, you are required to pay again
Yes.
based on the space.
Yes.
It doesn't sound fair. Is it fair?
No, but it is. It is because music is everywhere. Well, we would one can easily say, I don't play music in my restaurant. And there's only going to be that one day that football match that is playing. There's a music bed that is playing under there.
In the background.
You may not hear it because the focus is on the game. But music is a bed for everything. It creates a carpet for every single thing.
Bed as BED.
BED, yes.
So it's, music is like it's a carpet for
it's
everything.
always used as a carpet for every single thing. You may not know that you are using music, but eventually, one of these days, you're going to find yourself having some music playing. As long as you have speakers up there mounted, music has to play.
Okay,
one
I
way or
hear
the
you.
other.
All right, let's talk about South African music. One could say that there's been a proliferation, especially post, the lockdowns, a proliferation of South African artists coming to perform here,
Yes.
and some might argue taking away food from the mouths of our children and going back.
Yeah.
What are your views on this, and what are the pros and cons that you see?
Yes. Well, I see a lot of good in it and a lot of maybe not so good with it. Good in the sense that we learn from interacting, we learn from collaborating, we learn from working with others, especially from other lands, to get to know how they do things, how they build their brands and stuff like that. But I believe from the bad side that I would say is that then it means we locals have a long way to go in the area of packaging ourselves and actually presenting ourselves to our own land such that they would see us worth of having us alone without mixing us with internationals to come up with an event or a product. I believe we have a lot to do in packaging ourselves, and we can only be seen in a certain way, special way, if we package ourselves as well in a special way. So we need to do more so that at the end of the day we end up not interested or end up not needing to have internationals heading our local events. At that point, we corner ourselves without having them on board. Yes.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but from a collaboration standpoint.
It's not, because I believe the globe should be just one stage. On its own, it should be one stage.
Okay.
I should be staging here and having the world as my audience, instead of just looking at having Botswana as my audience.
Yeah. And what about gospel as a genre from Botswana? How is it doing in general, and how are you doing in particular in terms of penetrating out there?
Yes. Well, I think as well it is growing, and I'm loving the fact that it's constantly growing. There is not a point where we say no, we are okay now. Like I just said, it's one important thing that we should all collectively do is to deliver ourselves to the globe, and not only to look at Botswana as our stage. It's good that I'm seeing local musicians in the gospel area collaborating as well. A friend of mine just recently called Shinki has Shinki, yes, has gone across borders and recorded a live DVD in South Africa, which back in the day it would be something that's not common, that cannot be done, that's not possible. But now we see, local musicians taking, steps and risks to step out of the comfort zone and do things in a way that it has always been perceived and not possible here in Botswana.
And you yourself, how is your music doing? Have you made any top 10 lately?
Yes, I believe my music is reaching out. It's reaching out. It's one of the I don't want to blow my horn, but I would
Well,
say
who
it's
else
one
is
of,
going to blow?
yes, I would
Be
say
shameless.
I would say it's one of growing up. I was once starting this music thing. It's the kind of genre that I came up with was sort of like bridging the gap between what people would call the gospel music, because it was always perceived as that kind of, you know, because my style was more contemporary. I came up with a sound that is more contemporary and fusing it with our conventional type of doing things, to an extent that I would write a Setswana song, and the delivery of the song would be more contemporary, such that when you listen to the song, your mind tells you it should be sung in English, but now it's in Setswana. So my music was accepted from inception to now, and I believe it's reaching out. I've managed to reach out even to internationals, international recognitions from awarding bodies in South Africa, international platforms to perform in South Africa as well, and other countries like Namibia. That's where I've been as well.
Have you been on massive stages like stadiums and things like that?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
It's always a beautiful experience. The last time I was performing for an audience in a stadium, it was a church event actually. It's always a beautiful experience having to minister for the masses and actually see firsthand how your ministration is impacting people. That experience is always similar to having people inbox you.
And you say recently you were at which stadium?
The stadium.
Yes, you're telling us of the recent experience.
The recent experience of me performing at a stadium was that indoor stadium at the UB, that's called the Sports Arena, alongside Joyous Celebration. That would be the recent massive performance that I've had with massive people. And the experience, like I'm saying, it's always great having to have a first-hand experience of ministering to people and also getting to know how your music is ministering to them.
You mentioned you've won 9 awards. Can you take us through some of them?
7, actually.
7, sorry.
Yes. The first award I won was in 2009, which was Best Male Vocalist for the BOMU Music Union, Botswana Music Union. I don't know how I'm saying it right. The second one would be 2012 Best Contemporary Gospel
Is it for which
Artist.
song was that, the first one?
The first one was just general, Best Male Vocalist.
Oh, okay. So
they just looked at
the whole album.
The whole album.
Or just your whole creation, all your creations.
Yes. And by then I was up against V, up against Chris Manto 7, if you remember him.
Which year was this?
This was 2009. I was up against Culture Spears.
The competition was tough.
And I was the fourth in that category. So the competition was really tough.
Impressive.
So I was really, really honored to scoop that one. I did not expect to get it actually. 2012 I got Best Music Producer. I got 3 awards in that year. Best Music Producer, Best Packaged Album, and Best Contemporary Gospel.
I'm just guessing.
Yes, but you are right. You guessed
I see,
right.
okay.
Yes. Yes. And then I'm at 4 awards, right? In 2000
and this was which organization which awarded you this one?
BOMU still.
BOMU still,
It was BOMU still.
Okay.
2013, I got Best Music Producer as well, which makes 5 awards. And 2018 and 2019, I got annual Gospel Awards. The first one was Best Gospel Music Producer, and then Best Contemporary Gospel Artist as well.
Okay.
So in total, I have 7. And over the years, I've been having multiple nominations, like I'm saying. I got nominated twice at the Crown Gospel Awards, which are annually held in Durban, South Africa.
So were you the runner-up or something, or third place, or you are not able to tell?
You can never tell because they only announce the winner.
They give number 1
yes.
only. Okay,
yes.
all right. And then in terms of approaching these different organizations for consideration, have you been out there going to South Africa, to Nigeria, and other parts of the continent, and even internationally, to compete, to sell your craft and to see if your music can compete?
Yes, actually did in 2019, just before this COVID era hit us. I did well, I would say it's a promotions tour in South Africa, where I just traveled around radio stations trying to promote my stuff here. I was blessed to also have a few SABC programs lining me up for interviews. I did Gospel Avenue, I did Radio Pulpit interviews, I did Rainbow FM interviews as well. So it was an experience really that taught me so much that we are here in Botswana, we are not actually reaching out. I think Botswana, speaking of that, Botswana are one of the people who are some of the people who are really comfortable in their own space. We don't see ourselves just pushing, boundaries and moving out. And I was so shocked to see that even when we are not doing much, there's that one or two people that you'd find in a foreign place that know about you or that may have heard your product, which means if we would do more, we could actually reach out and make ourselves
that leads to me to a thought that I've been wanting to put to you about one-hit wonders.
Yes.
Where we've really had people who just have one hit and they disappear. Almost like this rapper, I can't remember his name. Was it Ice-T or somebody like that? There's a white rapper who just came out one song
and then left
and then disappeared. And then Rick Astley. And we have a lot of other people in Botswana who just come up with one. And then on the other hand, you have somebody like Yvonne Chaka Chaka who stays. I mean, was he here last weekend? Something like that. Who came and just, blew the audience and, packed. People still responding to him. I want to hear you in terms of advice. How do we tackle this phenomenon of one-hit wonders, avoid that fate, that is? And how do we get to be like the Yvonne Chaka Chakas of this world and the people who really have staying power, even Hugh Masekela and so many others.
I think the first thing to do is to actually create music not for your land. Create timeless music. I mean, if you talk of Yvonne Chaka Chaka, she's a powerhouse herself. Listening to her music now, it sounds as fresh as if it was just done yesterday. But most of her music is like 30, 40 years old, but still we are listening to it and enjoying it. And like I'm saying, it starts with you creating timeless music. Back in the day, there used to be what we call bubblegum music. Bubblegum music, yes, it will make you popular now, you will get known now, but if I'm to play that same record 10 years after that, it's not as enjoyable. So it starts with us creating timeless music and making sure that our music reaches out to the masses and not just to our comfort zone, our area where we are born and raised. Yes, sir.
And do you believe that we have the infrastructure for that? Is BOMU assisting with that? And are the musicians themselves getting together to assist one another in that field, in that regard?
Yes, though there's a lot that can be done. I think I'll go back a lot to a point of us taking ourselves seriously as musicians and packaging ourselves in the manner that we would really want to be perceived. Sometimes we point fingers to the public and say they are not supporting, they are not buying our products, they are not doing that, whereas it's us that are not really packaging ourselves in that manner and taking the craft seriously in terms of perceiving it as a business as opposed to just that one thing that we do to pass time or intsha bodutu ka sone. So it boils a lot of times back to us really taking ourselves seriously and packaging ourselves in that manner.
All right, let's talk about moolah, monetization.
Money.
Let's talk about moolah.
Yes, sir.
What advice would you give? What has been your unique experiences on the money-making game with music? And what advice would you give those aspiring musicians out there?
Yes. Well, to speak about monetizing every single thing, one of the lessons that we really have learned the hard way is the arrival of COVID. It has really taught us, things that we didn't see as important. One of which would be, like I've just said, making timeless music, pushing to have social media, or maybe I should say internet presence, making sure that we are there all the time, because now everybody has a phone, they have a multimedia gadget that they are holding on to, and if you are not in there, if you are not present in there, people will overlook and maybe look at what's in there. And every single area,
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. And every single thing that we do we should as musicians start looking at it as money. All the platforms nowadays, you can be able to monetize them, be it your social media, be it your YouTube, every area can be monetized in terms of you making your products available there, linking everything into your handles and your products, your social media handles, so that people can know about what you're selling and actually access it and get the pathway into the stores that you may be having, like online stores if your music is online, on Apple Music and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yes,
I've seen musicians, when you speak about COVID, when it really hit, diversifying. I mean, just a name that pops into my mind is somebody like Barry Hart, diversified into fashion.
Yes.
And Horata, is it first name Rantau, the Rantau lady?
Lorata Rantau.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know whether it's Lorata, but that's the one. So she
must be her elder sister, Kiaroma
Rantau.
Yes, sir.
So I've seen them diversifying into other areas, but now that things are becoming normalized, I do not know what the current status is. But
yes.
I just want to ask you about the question of diversification for musicians. Yes. Is it important for them to create multiple streams of income?
It's critical, not only to musicians or creatives. Having multiple streams of income to every individual, it's a good idea. It's always a good idea. As you know, here, yes, for us musicians, I wouldn't say music is that much paying. It is paying, but it's still growing as well. So having another stream or more streams of income besides music is always a good idea. So I would really, really encourage.
But can you really make serious moolah here in Botswana? I mean,
from music?
Taking you as an example.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not going to ask you to disclose yes. how much you are making, but can you make serious money?
You can. I always differ with people who say Botswana is a small country in terms of population, 2 million
2.5.
2.5 I would say if you are to get 5 or 10% of that 2 million, that will give you a percent there go and then focus in making a clientele from that 1 or 2% of the population. You are okay. It's just up to us making sure that our product is consumable. It's actually interesting to the eye. And again, make sure that we create products that are not only consumable here, products that would interest the whole globe. I mean, if I'm to put up a song online for downloads, my song should easily be catchy to somebody who is in Seychelles, for example, somebody who is in Canada, such that my consumer bracket is not only based here in Botswana.
Okay. What has been a unique experience? Have you been able to meet your financial targets through this profession?
No, I wouldn't say, Madiki Mari, you can never say money is enough. But I'm grateful for where I am, for what I've gathered, and for the growth that I'm still developing as a person and as a creative. You know, I would only be grateful and say, I'm somewhere. I could be further. I could be. I still have dreams to go further, but I'm grateful that I'm where I am.
Okay. The employment prospects for youth and the possibility for expansion. Let's talk about that. How many young people are you employing, and what are the prospects for employment?
Well, the kind of business that I do does not really employ, but there's a lot of youth that I'm interacting with. Say, for example, for this event that I'm hosting next month, there's a team of 15, 16 people that I'm carrying along with, and definitely they will be benefiting from the event. The band, the singers, the organizers of the event, the service providers for the event, for everything that I will need in terms of sound, lighting, food, and everything that will be there. As well in the studio, time and again, if I have for example, the TVC that we spoke about earlier, there's actors in there. There's
television commercials. Yes.
There's voice artists in there. There's a film crew in there. And all that. So time and again, I keep involving young people to help me, and not in a permanent basis, but just to come do their session of work. They get a little bit of payment from that, and then yes.
Yeah, someone was saying that we're in a gig economy.
A gig economy, yes,
yeah,
basically.
It's a per gig.
People
are employed per gig.
Exactly.
But has that really trickled down? Have you guys impacted society enough to have a dent on the unemployment numbers?
We're not even close, yeah. There's a lot that can be done by us, mainly the youth or the creatives as a whole. I mean, by getting rid of the mentality of working or going to work, waking up to go for work, to go and work for someone, for a company.
Formal
employment. That's what I wanted to say. And to
although I mean, it must be said, some of us who are running companies wonder what the alternative is.
Yes.
If
we are all to come up with businesses.
yes. If everybody becomes an entrepreneur, who's the entrepreneur going to employ?
Exactly. But we can't all be entrepreneurs. But if we are all to say, let's become entrepreneurs, then at least which would really develop the infrastructure of the unemployment here in Botswana. Yeah, so it will really help, and most Botswana would have more businesses as opposed to having more job opportunities.
And specifically as a brand TSHEPO LESOLE, what are your prospects for expansion? What are the plans? What can we see coming up in the future?
Well, I've always been an advocate of, I think by now, as a globe entity,
a global player.
So my dream, everyday dream, is to have it very easy and simple for me to just wake up and say I'm collaborating with so and so from another country. You know, the technology now has made a lot of things easier. I can be able to make a song now and finish it same day with somebody who is like miles and thousands of miles away.
But you can't have a virtual concert.
You can,
That is won't be the same.
It won't be the same. It won't be the same. But with collaborations, as I mean, an example of featuring somebody and having them sing with you in a song. I have a song now that I'm promoting called "Jesus Got My Back," which I recorded with a Nigerian girl whom I have not even met. We've just met on social media. She looked up my music on iTunes. She liked my sound. I did the same. We decided, why not do a song together?
And how did you actually cut it without meeting one another? How did you cut that song?
Well, the process was I came up with the song, produced it here, finished it, did my parts of the recording, left a portion of her for her to do, sent the song to her. She recorded her beat, sent that beat. We joined things together. I did the mixing, and the song is now.
So listening to it, you can't tell that these people are countries apart.
You can't tell. And in video, even in video production nowadays, you can't even tell that this scene was shot somewhere, the other was shot the other way.
So do you end up appearing even on the same shot in the video?
Yes, it's possible. It's possible. The technology has really moved a lot more far. Right now, there's the use of both green screen. These guys will explain how those things are done, given a chance.
You're referring to my powerful team of videographers here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You can be able to make a scene look like it was shot in one place, whereas it was shot in different places by different people in different scenarios. There's a song, again, speaking of that I did with 14 artists from 14 different countries during lockdowns.
Without ever meeting?
Without ever meeting. Each one of us were in different countries, African countries around.
What's the song?
The song is called Heal Our Land.
Oh.
You should look it up. It's on YouTube as well.
Okay.
It was done by 14 gospel musicians from 14 different countries. Each one was shooting themselves in their own recording studio, capturing the clip of them singing the portion. We sent all this to one
Did you compose
production house. Well, each one was composing their little bit.
Oh, I see.
Yes. But it was produced by a South African producer.
Okay.
Yes.
And it worked out splendidly.
It worked out very well. It sounds well. It looks good as well. The video looks good as well.
Yeah, I still want to push you a little bit on the crystal ball to say specifically 10, 15 years. What is TSHEPO LESOLE, the brand, doing? What exists? Can you look into the future a little bit?
Well,
as a man of faith.
As a man of faith, yes, amen. Looking in the future, well, I'm looking into having my brand being a household brand, where it would be easier and more comfortable for every person everywhere in this continent to easily access my music and know about my music and actually be impacted by the kind of ministry I do through my music.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What, if any, would you say was the biggest setback that you have encountered in your career, and how did you maneuver and survive that setback?
There's a couple of them. Maybe the one that would stand out would be, well, the level of piracy that is happening. It's especially here in our land. It's very difficult to, or let me just say, it's normal for every music consumer to have their music or the car or the laptop without having to banalone but never saureka. So it's a downside that I think we as creatives are facing, especially in the music area, because music is easily shareable nowadays with the technology. You have Bluetooth, you have WhatsApp, music circulates easily, and it's unfortunate that most consumers don't even know it's wrong. You will find yourself having a song, and it's okay. You don't see anything wrong with it. Even in church, we find people having music, about consumer, so it's something that I would say we will deal with. Unfortunately we have to deal with, But at the same time, there's a lot that we need to do as creatives and also as the body.
So how did that set you back particularly?
Well, obviously, if somebody, if somebody has a product that you are selling and they had it for free, obviously it sets you back. It could be seen as just 5 pula or just 10 pula. If you look at it now and say, 10 pula, if it's the whole population and it's that one song, then it's a huge setback for the business that I'm running.
So could there be an indirect benefit where now you become popular and people now want to hear from you?
It is an indirect thing. Actually, some friend of mine told me in other countries, especially Nigeria, they actually promote their music at the beginning of their careers, or maybe at the beginning of their product promotions. Say then they are releasing an album. They actually push their music for free like that. They pirate their own music. Let me put it that way. They make people share and they play their music on the streets and make sure that they give away people and stuff like that. Just so that song or that product can be in people's minds and get known
and come to the attention of the decision makers.
Yes. So to some extent, it just depends on how you as a musician wants to put your product out there. If that works for you,
You said there were 2 setbacks. What is the other one?
The other setback that I think really hit everyone and caught everyone unprepared is that of COVID. Because it came at a time when nobody was expecting it, and nobody really thought it would. When it started, nobody thought it would go that far of locking us up in the houses and prohibiting us from gathering and all that.
A lot of people I've interviewed say that there's been a plus and a minus, and they say that there's a dividend that came with COVID for them. What is your experience?
Well, my learning curve from COVID was really it caught me at a time that I didn't realize that I didn't have enough online presence. So the positive that I learned from COVID was really making sure that I am there online, that my product is there online, making sure that I am seen online, and so that really helped a lot. It actually is the one that ended up birthing collaborations of one of them, which I've just spoken about.
Yes.
That African song that we did.
What's the name of the song?
It's called Heal Africa.
Heal Africa.
Yes.
I mean the one with the Nigerian lady.
And the one with the Nigerian girl, it's called Jesus Got My Back.
Okay.
It's also online.
We'll look out for them. I'm sure the viewers are busy furiously checking it online as we speak.
Yes.
Sir. Okay. Talk about the main fest, the worship experience, the event that you are planning.
Yes, sir.
Can you share with the viewers, tell us in detail what it's all about?
Okay. It's an event that was mainly inspired by worship, as the name suggests. You'd agree with me that ever since COVID hit us, we haven't really managed to gather and worship together, especially in the church setup and in the Christian and gospel setup. So this is an event that would be gathering people just to come and worship together and experience a moment of worship together. It's going to be happening on the 7th of May at Mighty
7th
Song
May.
Theatre. Yes, sir.
Mighty Song.
Mighty Song Theatre. Yes, sir.
In Maruapula.
In Maruapula, yes, sir.
What can we expect in terms of who's turning up there and how much is it going to cost us?
Well, I would say to the people that expect an awesome experience of worship, like I said, we have artists lined up like Doba, artists like New Beth, that's a choir. Myself, of course, we have Lizibo as well lined up to perform there. There's going to be a whole lot other guests that will be announced that will be there as well. It's going to be at Mighty Song, like I said, and the ticket is only 100 pula, 150 pula if you're going to buy it at a later stage, or at the door if it will still be available at the door.
Okay.
It's available at
How
Web
many
Tickets.
people can come on that
Come again?
that stage can take how many people? I mean, that audience, that venue.
It's limited seating actually, so I'm encouraging people to buy tickets now before they sell out. I think that capacity is around 400, 450, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Okay. Is it going to be preaching or just purely song?
Purely song.
Okay.
Purely
all right.
song and celebration.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Would you happen to have a question for me, sir, at this point?
At this point, what would I ask you, Mr. Mogobe? Okay, well, it's for my own benefit.
Yes. Yeah.
I've been watching you and secretly admiring the way you do things, especially on the business area. So I would just want you to, because I'm also a business person who is growing, I would just want you to give me an advice on how you do things or how you got to do things for you to get where you are now.
Trial and error, especially error, persistence,
Yes.
an element of trying to be resilient,
Yes.
perseverance. But it's a case of wanting to turn up every day.
Yes.
The desire to turn up and to make a difference and to keep growing.
Yes.
I'm a great student of personal development, and just through reading and having mentors and continually asking questions, even the embarrassing questions, not being embarrassed to ask a question is very, very helpful. So from my point of view, I just want to stay curious.
Yeah.
I just want to stay active. And I've been fortunate to have a very good spouse who's also an entrepreneur. And I've been fortunate to have a very nice team.
Yes.
Of course, sometimes it evolves a little bit, but we have now a solid team of property professionals in terms of investment criteria that we have for our acquisitions. I'm now at a point where I think I've taught people as we now pivot a little bit into agency and into brokerage, property brokerage.
Yes.
I have the right team. And I've been fortunate also when it comes to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom to have a respectable number of subscribers who I thank. I thank you for subscribing. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're watching this. And then that has really led to growth and unintended benefits just from the trying to apply that effort. I still practice law. As you can see, I was in court this morning, even though I do an average of 1 or 2 cases a year now, because entrepreneurship has taken over. So stay curious and get out of that comfort zone and do some of the things that you've been advising the viewers to do. Yes, stick with what you're doing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, sir.
All right. There's a camera there. Somebody is watching. Oh, no, I think yours is that
This one, yeah?
Yes, and all you're required to do is to leave one powerful concluding motivational message for the viewer as we wrap up our conversation.
Yes. Well, what I would say is that, first of all, after discovering that you have that gift that God has given you, stick to it. I think I'll borrow some of the words that I've just learned now. Stick to it and don't sleep on it. Nobody will validate that for you unless and until you wake up and make sure that you go after it and reach it without having to give up on the way or be discouraged on the way. I know sometimes we get discouraged and say, I've tried, it's been 5 years, I've been doing this, there's nothing, there's no result. But that moment that you are going to be giving up could have probably be a breakthrough moment for you. So just keep going, you will get there.
I endorse that. And I have a saying that winners never quit and quitters never win.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yes,
you've been a wonderful, wonderful guest. But before we go, share with the viewer all your contact details on social media and elsewhere.
My social media handles on Facebook, I'm TSHEPO LESOLE BW or TSHEPO LESOLE. You will find me, just search TSHEPO LESOLE, you will find me. On Instagram is at TSHEPO LESOLE 1. At TSHEPO LESOLE 1. Same as on Twitter as well, it's at TSHEPO LESOLE 1. And you can also reach us at 7291-8238, especially if you want to get tickets for this event that we've been talking about, May 7, Manifest Worship at my Tisong Theatre on the 7th of May. Tickets are available for 100 pula, 150 pula at Web Tickets. Web Tickets is all over the country. Go Spa, if you are nearer to a spa, you can be able to get a ticket anywhere in Botswana, Mahalape, Francistown, anywhere. You can get a ticket and be with us here, 7th of May, my Tisong Theatre. Bless you.
Thank you very much, Rev Lesole. TSHEPO Lesole. You've been a great guest.